taking a pause here during the de-RTR-ification. We're making a pile of the RTR bits. The packaging touts what Carisma calls the ATT gearbox, the anti-torque twist. And as I had mentioned in the first video, it looks like a standard 3-gear, but it's got this little jobby on the side. And it does. It is a basic 3-gear, but it's actually a 5-gear, because on the output from the main gear, it's got a little baby gear, and then that drives another gear. So what that makes happen is, if you watch the drive shafts, yeah, they turn opposite directions. So what I'm guessing is, having not taken them apart, they just flipped a ring and pinion. So I'm guessing that the rings are both on the same side. So the drive shafts rotate in opposite directions, but as you can tell by the hexes, the axles rotate in the same direction. I think that's super clever, and I don't know why more people aren't doing that. Once again, if you use a cheap, like Crawlmaster, with the ring, it barely fits. The stock gearing was with a 14 tooth. This one is not in superb shape. So I just switched it to an old low-C 14 tooth. It's very smooth. The gearbox is super smooth, and it actually had some grease in it. I added more, and as you can see right now, these are Capra shocks, which were the exact same length as the OE shocks. And I have the potentially faux KLRs, but the ones that work great. They're mounted up. So I'm about halfway through the de-RTR-ification, and I think I'm probably going to steal the Hobbywing 1080 out of Ironsides the Defender and pop that in here. That was the one that was in the Tranquish build, so it got pulled out, so no sense having a spare AGFRC, so that's going to go in here. Kind of a bummer that this is all one thing. I'm probably going to check to see how it bolts and see if I can't just drop like an element holder, because I know then I can just fit the little 3S pack right here. And then I plan on mounting the receiver and the speed control just right there, so nothing out in the back. Shorter wiring. So I'm going to get back on that, because most of this video is going to be driving. All right, so what we will call stage 1 or revision 1 is now complete. You can see over here we've got the Carisma RTR junk pile, never to be seen again. If anybody wants that, hey, let me know. I'll put it in a box. I wouldn't recommend using it, but, you know, I mean, if you want, like, wall art. Anyway, obviously, none of the wires, I don't bother to clean anything up. I just get the stuff slapped in here because we don't know how this is going to work. The usual little baby 3S up in the front. Went with the radio link, which I had bought for I don't know what. I was going to put it on a fly sky, but I had this guy sitting around. There's the purloined 1080. That's why the wires are so long. Anyhow, it is drastically improved. I mean, low speed control, yes. Got a little pop to it on 3S now. So I'm very hopeful. So let me break down real quick. 1080, obviously the AGFRC A73 CHLW. That sounds right. Yes. Left it with the stock gearing. I don't know if I'm going to fiddle with that. The radio link RC4, which is my new kind of favorite GT5 replacement. It works with the same exact receivers that the 6-channel version does, but obviously this guy only needs 2 channels. The rear brace was replaced with one from an Element. The front bumper mount is a shaved down Traxxas mount, so I could put a TRX4 Defender stock bumper on it, just because I thought it looked nice. I don't really have... Element, steering drag link, and some titanium for the steering link, so I can adjust it and try to dial out any sub-trim. No other... the potentially fake Class 1 KLRs, but on every vehicle that we've put them on, they work great. So, there's always that chance that they're real KLRs. These will probably be addressed in the future. Oh, and I think I mentioned a minute ago, shocks from a Capra. Red springs in the front, purple in the rear. They might be too soft for this setup. I think it's overdamped and undersprung, but this is revision 1. This is how it's going on the rocks. Let's get to it. I felt like this was a go big or go home type of situation, because I have all that wheel time from the previous video where I drove this for about 3 minutes on 2S. So I made all the changes and then just went straight at the rocks. And any inability of the rig to get up or down an obstacle is entirely the fault of the guy holding the controller. Because, as I've said and will continue to say, my brain is programmed for a tall tire. I mean, this is the same guy that continually tries to take the same line with straight axles as he does with portals, and going there's kind of an equivalency there, going from a portal to a straight axle, going from a straight axle to a Class 1. You're just moving that pumpkin closer and closer to the rocks. So it's definitely something that I'm working towards accommodating. And also, this guy's got, it's a 12 7/8 inch, 12.8 inch wheelbase, 324 millimeter. So not only is it lower to the ground than anything else I have, the only thing it's the length of a Defender, and Defenders are portaled, and they sit on bigger tires. So this is a lot closer to the ground. That said, I couldn't believe that it could go here. And it's pretty controllable, even with that lower turn 540. So a lot of it is me trying to figure out where's the point where it can't do any more, like there. But the weight is low. I will put scale numbers up somewhere during this to show how it worked out with me changing stuff. I don't know if the raw numbers will be better. I do know that it feels better in every way, and I'm assuming they're Steelies, so we went from plastic beadlocks to metal. We went from a 95 millimeter tire to a 100, whatever Class 1 is. 104? Whatever these are. The body, still, yeah. It did not rub on the tires nearly as much as I thought it would. It's mostly the rockers and stuff catching. I did what I had mentioned in the first part, which was I just raised the body mounts up one hole. And then it allowed me to run the bumper basically straight out. So even with a bumper with less clearance, as the TRX4 bumper hangs lower than the OE bumper, it still had more clearance. And the sliders on the sides sit up so high that I think I could go up another hole. That's interesting. Now that I'm watching it in action, I think I could flip the front bumper mount, because it's, TRX4, the bumper mount drops a little. I could flip it to raise the bumper up and then just go up one more hole, which should stop the side skirts and rear end from grabbing on stuff as much. Though, I mean, I do like the look of it. It's absolutely comical watching the rolling hull house van go up obstacles that, I mean, at first glance, it has no business going up. I'm super happy with the capability of the SCA-1E platform. I know that they have a number of vehicles all based off of this, and so far as I know, they're all just based off, because there's a second set of tower holes in the back, so I think they might all the SCA-1Es might be on this exact platform. I like the gearbox. It's smooth. It's quiet. The anti-torque twist technology, as they say, appears to work. You'll see right here particularly, I'm through pure chance getting it to the absolute point of tipping. I don't know how it didn't go over right there. But if there was any torque twist in this, any application of throttle right there would have rolled it. And it stayed rubber side down pretty much miraculously. I realized I was stuck and could not progress forward, so just rolled out of it. So then I figured, let's go to something even knobbier, and then we'll try Slick Rock, which is all about tire. And then we'll try Daphne's line, which is difficult, if just in the narrowness. So here's an attempt at Slick Rock. You'll see the approach angle. The approach angle is better in the front than it is in the rear, because the rear overhang is substantial. But made it up there in, I don't know, half the time that an Ecto fitted with fake rock beasts could make it to the top. So if you haven't watched The Search for the Worst Tire, definitely watch that. How this thing managed to go up Slick Rock is downright impressive. So here we are, Daphne's line, no edit, take one. Had never made an attempt at this obstacle. Maybe I'm just getting better at doing it, but I'd like to think the platform has a little bit to do with it. Getting the bumper up over that lip was a little tough, but then after that, just absolutely drama-free. Makes noises like an old boat, but easily made it up to the top. I think that was the rear view mirror stuck on the fence. The rear view mirror is still on the body, so I just checked now. So that appears to be that. The steering angle could probably be better. But the amount of push that it has in the nose, I think that might be the KLRs. I think they have a little bit of glide to them. And that's where the house van decided to end the day. So I'm going to hand it back off to the other guy to finish this one off. It did well. I'm impressed. I feel like Revision 1 went easily well enough to justify putting at least a little bit of money into it. The faux KLRs are good, but on slicker surfaces, they definitely lack pure traction. I don't know if it's the compound or the shape of the lug, or maybe I run them backwards. I don't know. I could try them the other way. It needs resprung. They are too soft, even at the weight of it. I guess just the suspension geometry. The front sits almost slammed down. So a little bit shorter of a spring and a higher rate is what I'll have to do, dig through the bins to find. I don't think the 540 provides enough torque to give me the amount of drag brake that I want. But as we all know, a Holmes 550, like a Trailmaster or a Crawlmaster, is around $20. So that's probably, I mean, if I can find a good Tekin, the Tekin HDs, I run a Tekin HD in Zoidberg, the Capra, and I love that motor. That motor has got a tremendous amount of drag brake. I think this thing could do nicely with something like a 35 turn, really. I don't need the speed. I have a lot more gearing that I could go to. It's running a 14-tooth pinion. So I could put like a 35 turn in there, or a 45 turn in there, and gear up to like a 19 or a 20. I think that might be a nice compromise. One thing that is definitely going to need to be addressed is the Carisma servo was just flat on the, like, it didn't protrude out as much. So with the AGFRC, when it's fully compressed, it strikes, and it's not fully compressed. There's that much shaft still out. The other side will go all the way up. This will go all the way up here, but when it's like this, you get that little cross angle. So that's easy to fix. Just put some spacers, space the servo up a little bit. I will definitely now clean up the mounting and wire. I guess I gotta get another 1080 so that Ironsides the Defender can have his speed control back. From that outing, the only thing I would complain about, I'd like more brake, but that's just a matter of putting in a lower turn. I think this is a 13 turn 5-pole. So I would definitely, maybe a 27 turn Trailmaster. If anybody's got one in stock, that'd probably be good. So also in revision 2, like I said, probably not enough pure traction. They do pretty well, as you saw, but I would like something with more. So maybe Class 1 Tusks, if I can get a hold of them. That wouldn't be a bad option for this. I was really pleased with how that ran. These bother me to no end. I would like to just make something. I'll make something. And also note the sheer number of shock mounting holes. Ridiculous. So you could go, that has to be 15, 17 millimeters of vertical adjustment. So I think you could run anywhere from like an 80 to 100 millimeter shock on here without changing the ride height. I really like that. The platform is definitely growing on me pretty rapidly. This is functional. I thought, oh, I'll just leave that off. But with the way the transmission only uses 2 bolts from the bottom, the transmission just rocks back and forth without. So this is essentially a transmission brace. I thought it was just like, oh, don't put your fingers in the motor. But it's not. So this is one of those things. They say when you make changes, don't make more than one change at a time. Otherwise, you won't know what helped. I think everything helped. It had better steering. It does have some push in the front end, but I think that's probably a bit of the KLRs, maybe KLRs, more than anything. I really like, even though the TRX4 bumper hangs a little lower, I prefer it to the OE bumper. I basically like everything that I did. I just slapped the shocks on, and like I said, undersprung and overdamped is definitely the case. They need to go up at least a rate. I've got boxes of shock springs. I will find something that works. I was genuinely surprised by how well it did side hilling. I mean, it did really well. And just going from the OE tire to these tires, what an enormous difference. And these are class 1s, like 4.09, 4.1, whatever they are. And like, that is a small tire. That amount of ground clearance made all the difference in the world. So it's not necessarily that these tires are terrible. I couldn't make a judgment one way or the other as to whether or not they're terrible. Just, they didn't give this thing enough clearance. I mean, that's low clearance. But, man, does it go now. I'm genuinely excited for revision 3, which is where I put at least, a little bit of money into it. And definitely clean up what's going on here. I had to solder bullets back on because I had it direct, and I will probably just do this guy direct to whatever motor goes in here next. So I will get on that, and I think she's I still love that it's a van. I definitely think she's a keeper. The platform is very capable. It's starting to get its first scars on it. I have no complaints about the operation of the platform at all. It still feels a little punchy at the initial throttle tip in, but I can dial some of that out with the radio. I haven't done any tuning to the speed control. I haven't done anything. So it's good. It's much better now. And it's going to be even better the next time you see it. So thanks for watching. And look forward to more crawler spec rolling haul house van in the future.